In this podcast episode, Francis Ngannou discusses his journey from Cameroon to becoming UFC heavyweight champion. He recalls always wanting to be a boxer, even before leaving Cameroon. After multiple failed attempts, he finally made it to Europe on his seventh try. Ngannou emphasizes how blessed and lucky he feels to have achieved success, coming from such humble beginnings. He talks about transitioning to MMA and eventually winning the UFC heavyweight title. He notes that life often has a path for you, and he's grateful for his MMA journey, even though he didn't start boxing earlier. He views his accomplishments as opening doors for others from Africa to follow. Ngannou describes his recent foray into professional boxing, including his fights against Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. For the Fury fight, Ngannou had about 4 months to prepare. He discusses using a southpaw stance as a strategy and feeling unsure about his endurance going into the 10-round fight. He expresses satisfaction with his performance, especially dropping Fury in the second round. Regarding the Anthony Joshua fight, Ngannou details some issues with the fight organization. He says he arrived hours earlier than needed and had to wait around, which may have contributed to fatigue. He felt something was off during the fight, though he's unsure exactly what. He notes the difference in having footage available for Joshua to study, unlike with Fury. Ngannou reflects on the challenges of transitioning to boxing, including the different muscle memory and functionality required. He appreciates boxing as a new challenge where he's still figuring things out, compared to MMA, where he knows every situation instinctively. Ngannou discusses his current contract with PFL, Professional Fighters League, and plans for upcoming fights. He mentions a potential MMA fight in Saudi Arabia in October against Renan Ferreira. He expresses interest in doing more boxing matches as well, possibly up to 4 more fights before considering retirement. Ngannou shares his thoughts on the importance of discipline in fighting, noting that talent alone is not enough. He discusses how some fighters perform well in the gym, but struggle under the bright lights of competition. He emphasizes the need to work on weaknesses in training, not just strengths. He talks about his preference for being alone and how he processes things internally rather than working with sports psychologists. Ngannou describes forcing himself to get out of the house when feeling sad, especially since losing his young son. Ngannou opens up about the devastating loss of his 15-month-old son, Kobe, in April 2023. He recounts the shock of receiving the news while in Dubai and the pain of realizing how quickly the child had become such a major part of his life. He describes the difficulty of agreeing to an autopsy and seeing his son's toys in the apartment afterward. He explains naming his son after Kobe Bryant, recalling a meaningful interaction he had with the basketball star. Ngannou reflects on how the loss has given him a new perspective on others who have experienced similar tragedies. He expresses feeling broken, but also finding motivation to continue fighting as a way to honor his son's memory. The conversation touches on various societal topics. Ngannou shares his perspective on how laziness can sometimes lead to innovation, using examples like dishwashers and washing machines. He discusses the challenges of having internet access in previously uncontacted tribes and how it key to laziness. Ngannou also talks about the difference between workers and educated people, suggesting that some pursue higher education as a way to avoid real work. He emphasizes the importance of being willing to put in hard work when starting a business. Ngannou provides insight into the current state of MMA in Africa. He notes that while there are some promotions in countries like South Africa and Nigeria, there isn't yet one large organization across the continent. He sees great potential for growth and is excited about PFL Africa's plans to build gyms and create opportunities for African fighters. He emphasizes the importance of having local training facilities and partners, as many talented African fighters currently have to leave the continent to find adequate training. He envisions PFL Africa creating an ecosystem that will allow fighters to train and compete at a high level while staying in their home countries. Ngannou shares insights into his preparation for both MMA and boxing matches. He discusses the importance of sparring and how he approached it differently for his boxing matches compared to MMA fights. He also touches on the mental aspects of fighting, including how past fights can affect your mindset in subsequent bouts. He describes having to consciously return to having fun in his fights after feeling pressure to win had taken some of the enjoyment away. The conversation includes Ngannou's thoughts on fighter pay structures. He expresses disagreement with win bonuses, preferring a guaranteed purse regardless of the fight outcome. He argues that at the elite level, all fighters are trying their best to win and shouldn't be penalized financially for a loss, especially given the potential for bad judging. He also discusses the PFL's point system, expressing some uncertainty about its benefits. Ngannou emphasizes the limited number of fights most fighters have in their careers and the importance of maximizing their earnings during that time.